Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced his resignation following a 9-year reign.
This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
Mr. Trudeau had faced enormous pressure from within his own party and criticisms of his handling of the economy and of Donald Trump's threats to impose tariffs on imports from its northern neighbour. Kel, in one respect, this is a huge win for Trump, and he has continued to troll Trudeau over this. There was a meme that was going around, first of all. Trump had posted this AI image of himself looking over what appeared to be the Canadian mountain ranges days after joking, or maybe it was half joking,
Yes.
to Trudeau that Canada should become the 51st US state. Plus, take a look at this. Donald Trump has again trolled him on Truth Social today with this post reading, "The United States can no longer suffer the massive trade deficits and subsidies Canada needs to stay afloat." Justin Trudeau knew that. He resigned, adding if Canada merged with the US, there would be no tariffs, taxes would go way down, and they would be totally secure from the threat of Russian and Chinese ships. Now, I don't think he's serious about this 51st state business, but he must think that this is his scalp.
Of course it is. It's his third scalp. His first was Joe Biden. His second was Kamala Harris. Now he's claimed the scalp of Trudeau. And Trudeau didn't help. I mean, Trudeau's been immensely unpopular for a long time now. And being as nice as he could and tugging the forelock, and his own deputy, his own treasurer, then decided she was really unhappy with the way he was dealing with Trump and Trump's threats of more tariffs and so on. So she quit. So it just all fell apart. So it was a very bad judgment call by Trudeau at a time when he was already unpopular. And yes, Trump did it to him.
You know, Louise, he was the darling of the progressives for so long. Where did it all go so wrong? I mean, at one point, he lost count of the number of times, for example, that he put on blackface. Who else could survive that? And do you remember this from 2016 when this...
And for a long time, the polls have all been saying, look, the Conservatives are going to whip in. They've got to have an election by October. So next election, there's absolutely no way Trudeau's Liberal Party can win. So he knew he was in trouble. And he decided, as a judgment call, that he would rush down to Mar-a-Lago and cuddle up to Trump and see if he could get somewhere. All that Trump did was make jokes. I mean, Trump's got a sense of humour you've got to understand, where he talks about buying Greenland and maybe taking in Canada. I mean, that is Trump. But Trudeau looked silly. He looked weak. There he was, sitting in the lap of Donald Trump just about.
Self-proclaimed male feminist elbowed a female MP on the floor of the House of Commons and told her to get the F out of the way. Tell me, what Conservative politician would have got away with that?
None. The police probably would have been called and he or she may have been charged with assault. I mean, I think Justin Trudeau is a classic example of where idealism meets reality, and the two don't really mix at all. And he alienated, as Cal was saying, he alienated his core base very, very quickly, because he gave this glorious sun-filled plan of climate action and social justice solutions, none of which he delivered. So once they were sort of off the bat and not supporting him, it was very easy for the opposition to move in and say, what about the budget? You're $68 billion in debt. I can't even get my head around that figure, how he's managed to plunge Canada into so much debt, as we're saying that his treasurer resigned. But he just had this sort of glorious sort of pattern of what he thought would work for Canada, but he didn't actually put Canada first. He was more interested in stomping around on the world stage and going to India, destroying that relationship, making things difficult with China as well about tariffs. And yet for the average Canadian home, thinking, I can't afford my groceries, I can't afford to buy a house. Does that sound familiar? So, he had to go.
That do not jeopardize American workers and the massive trade-off deal the US has with Canada, Trump wrote on Truth social media at the time. So, Trudeau announced earlier this morning that he will resign as Prime Minister and the leader of Canada Liberal Party. I intended to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selected its next leader through a robust nationwide competitive process, Trudeau said in a Monday morning address. Last night, I asked the president of Liberal Party to begin that process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I am leaving to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in the election. Trudeau, who has led Canada from nearly a decade, has been grappling for months with significant drops in the approval ratings over mounting frustration relating to issues like the soaring cost of living and rising inflation. The long-term Prime Minister saw an increase in calls for his resignation from at least seven Liberal members of Parliament as well as opposition party leaders following the abrupt departure of his finance minister Chrystia Freeland, who wrote a scathing letter of resignation mentioning Trudeau's handling of certain economic policies as well as threats levied by Trump.